Hey guys, I'm Sashi Wilson. I'm here out at the Man Sports gym, and we're going to be filming a little bit of a mobility routine. So I have a background in personal training, corrective exercise, Pilates, and yoga. We'll be taking kind of a little bit of a blend of all of that in order to give you some length through the muscles that you work so hard to contract all the time. So in order to feel our best and work our most efficiently in our workouts and outside of our workouts, we have to have muscles that are not only strong but flexible as well. So we'll be using a routine today to find some balance between the two. It's going to open up your muscles while activating them at the same time. So this routine can be done start to finish as a mobility routine for maybe like an active recovery day, or maybe a day that you had scheduled to lift but your body just is really beat up from whatever you've been doing. You could take this whole routine, do it start to finish. The other option is if, let's say, you're doing a shoulder day or a leg day, you could take a few of the shoulder movements or a few of the hip movements and use those at the start and or finish of your workout to activate and then release once you have finished. So all of the movements that we'll be doing today can be performed in sets and reps or sets of time. So each movement you can either do 10 to 15 reps, maybe 2 or 3 rounds, or you could do each movement for 30 to 60 seconds for 2 to 3 rounds. Depending on what you feel like you need in your body today, either is going to be a great option. And once again, this whole routine can be performed from start to finish as an active recovery day, or you can pull out a couple of each movement and add it to the start or finish of your workout. So we'll begin today with inchworms. Our first couple movements are really going to be designed to get the blood flowing within the entire body. So to start with your inchworms, you want to start in a standing position. You'll reach your hands down towards the ground and then start to walk out into a plank pose. You have 2 options from here. If you want to make this inchworm stationary, you could walk your hands back towards your feet and then stand up at the top of the movement and then repeat. Or if you would like to make this a moving exercise, you could walk your feet up towards your hands, and when you arrive at the top, you stand up at the top and then walk back into a plank pose and begin with the movement. So next we have our world's greatest stretch. Come to a lunge position with either leg forward. Once you arrive, the leg that is forward, you'll take the same elbow and draw it down the side of your leg until the hand and the elbow eventually meet the ground. You can stay there and breathe for a moment, and then you'll reach your right arm, or whatever arm is forward, up to the sky. From there, you'll take that hand to the ground and switch your legs forward. So whichever leg is forward, you switch out, send that leg back, and bring the other leg forward and repeat. So for our next move, we'll start to open the upper body. You'll want to come to the wall for this next round of movements. Once you arrive on the wall, you'll take your back, and you want to make sure every vertebrae all the way through your low spine and sacrum are pressing into the wall. So you may have to walk your feet out a little bit more in front of you in order to feel that connection of your back all the way onto the wall. From there, you'll take your elbows out to the side. Try and get your shoulders, your elbows, the backs of your hands, everything to make connection with the wall there. From there, you begin to slide your hands up the wall as you draw your shoulders actively down your back. For our next move, we have snow angels. The setup will be the same for the wall slides. All that's going to change is instead of your elbows bending towards your side, your arms are going to stay straight. So you're going to start to bring your hands up towards the sky and then down by your side as if you were drawing a snow angel. As you reach your hands up, once again, finding the oppositional pull of your shoulders, drawing actively down your back so that your upper traps don't try and take the movement. And then our last move up against the wall will be our scarecrows. Once again, the setup is the same, keeping your back firmly pressed up against the wall. Bring your elbows out to a 90-degree bend. From there, you start to rotate at the head of the shoulder, taking your hands down towards your side, but the elbows never change. So they stay parallel to the shoulders the entire time. And then you'll press the backs of the hands back towards the wall. So you're alternating from the palms to the front of the hands, rotating through the head of the shoulder. So for our next movement, we will have our shoulder flossing and our around the worlds. Take a PVC pipe or a broomstick or a towel, and you're going to hold it right at your hip level. Keep your arms nice and straight and start to bring your hands all the way up overhead until the pole or the towel comes to the base of your low spine. Now, as you're moving through these, don't let your elbows bend. If your elbows bend, walk your hands out a little wider on whatever support you're using, and just begin to take your hands back and forth overhead. Again, this is another movement where as you're lifting your arms overhead, you want to actively pull your shoulders away from your, from popping up towards your ears. From there, we'll take it into our around the worlds. You'll take your left arm by your side, reach your right arm all the way up and over, and then you'll take the pole to the base of the spine. From there, you keep the right arm by your side and draw the left arm overhead until the pole or the towel comes back to the front side of your body. Then you'll reverse, take the right arm to the side, lift the left arm up and over until the pole comes all the way down your back. And then the right arm will reach up overhead as the left arm stays by your side and the pole comes back to the front of your body. From there, you continue moving through those, breathing into the stretch. On all of these shoulder movements, you want to think about keeping the front of your rib cage and your abdominals active. So you don't want to arch the back out here because that's not going to allow your shoulder to move properly through its whole girdle. So next we have cat-cow. To begin with our cat-cow, you'll come into a box pose. Your box pose is your hips are directly on top of your knees and your shoulders will be directly on top of your wrists. From there, you inhale and drop your belly as you draw your chest and shoulders open. And then exhale, you press the floor away, round the spine, really tuck the navel, gaze between your legs. Continue your pace, your breath. So you'll inhale, drop the belly, open the front of the body, drawing the shoulders down and back. Exhale, press the floor away, round the spine. Couple more, your pace, your breath. Inhale, drop the belly, gaze goes forward, lift the tailbone. Exhale, press the floor away, round the spine. You'll settle back to a neutral position, and then we will come into our T-spine rotations. For our T-spine rotation, you'll take your right hand behind the head. On the inhale, you tap the right elbow to the left elbow, and on the exhale, you'll twist and open, but don't let the twist come through the hips. Keep your hips stable and twist from your thoracic spine or the bottom of your rib cage and up. Inhale, tap the elbows together. Exhale as you twist and open. Continue again, your pace, your breath. And then on your final release, you'll take your right arm and just stretch it all the way to the sky and maybe circle out the arm a time or two before you place the hand back onto the ground. And then we'll do the same thing on the other side. So for our next move, we'll come into a Cobra pose. You're going to lay all the way down onto your belly. When you're ready, you'll reach the arms out in front of you. The legs are already extended. Take the first couple moves and inhale, lift your hands and feet off the top of the mat. So you may have also heard of this as Superman. Inhale, lower, exhale, use your back muscles, the whole posterior chain to lift your hands and lift your feet off the ground. So we'll do that again. Inhale, lower. This time you'll exhale and lift. Stay lifted on this one and exhale, draw your elbows towards your hip bones. Inhale, stay lifted, reach the arms back overhead. Exhale, elbows to hip bones as you lift the chest even a little bit higher. Inhale, reach it out, don't lower the chest. Exhale, reach the elbows back towards the hip bones. Once again, lifting the chest even a little bit higher. Next, we'll begin with our shoulder scorpions. You're going to remain laying on your belly, but you're going to take your arms directly out to a T. So your shoulder, elbow, and wrist are going to be one straight line out to your side. From there, you'll take your right leg, begin to bend the knee as you roll into your left shoulder and tap your right foot behind your left leg. Come back to your belly and then you'll switch sides. You bend the left leg, begin rolling into the right shoulder as you tap the left leg up and over. You continue breathing into this and moving through each side. So from your belly, you'll come into your box pose just as a transition and then tuck your toes and lift your hips. That takes you into your downward facing dog. Now, genetically speaking, some people's heels may never touch the earth, so don't beat yourself up if yours don't. But don't carry any tension in the back of the legs if they don't. So when you're in your down dog, you want to think about rolling the eyes of the elbows in towards each other and then allowing your upper back to kind of open out. You really press your hands and your feet firmly into the ground. And then you want to find lightness in your hips. So it's like your tailbone and your sit bones are lifting towards the ceiling. From there, you're going to begin to shrug your shoulders up and down your back. So you'll inhale, lift your shoulders right up towards your ears as high as you can. And then exhale, retract them down your back. So slide them all the way and pinch and squeeze them together. So inhale, you'll lift the shoulders back up to the ears. This is your protraction. So when you protract, you're finding that stretch through the upper back. And then when you retract, when you pull your shoulders back down, you're finding that activation. From here, you're going to take your right leg and step it forward between your hands. And then drop your back knee to the ground. This is your supported low lunge. Inhale as you reach the arms up so that the biceps will frame the ears, but once again, drawing your shoulders down your back. From here, you take your right hand to your right hip as you lift your left arm up and over your right side body. Think about trying to roll your left rib cage open as you gaze over your left shoulder. And then inhale, you'll reach the arms back overhead. And then frame the front foot, straighten out the front leg. This is your half splits. When you're in your half splits, you want to keep your hips nice and neutral. So think about gently drawing your left hip crease forward and your right hip crease back. Breathe into the back of the hamstring. And then inhale when you're ready. You travel forward, supported low lunge. Hands frame the front foot, you step back and continue moving through this on either side. For our next posture, we'll come into box pose and then take your big toes to touch, your knees out nice and wide. Bring your hands out in front of you. This is called your child's pose. We're using this to set up the transition for our next posture. While you're here, begin to sit into your right leg as you take your left leg directly out to the side and try to keep the whole left sole of the foot on the earth. From here, you're going to inhale, lift the hips, come to a kneeling posture. You're tucking the tail and squeezing the glutes, stretching through the left adductor, that's your inner thigh. And then sit back to the heel when you're ready. Find that release. Inhale, find the activation, press up and squeeze. Once again, always remembering you want to keep the front of the rib cage pulled in. So next up we have our skater lunge. To set up our skater lunge, I want you to come in stand into a really wide stance, and then bring your hands down to the ground. Bend into either leg to start, it doesn't matter, but as you bend into the leg, I want you to think about drawing the hips back as you keep your spine really long. When you get into your lunge, you want to keep your outer edge of the knee in line with the outer edge of the foot. When you're ready, you walk the hands over to the other side. Once again, keeping the length through your spine. Try not to round here. So when you arrive at the other side, once again, you're stretching now through the right side. The left knee, you'll want to keep in line with the outer edge of the left foot. Continue walking your hands back and forth. Try not to ever lose connection with the ground. Next up, we have our 90-90 stretch. To set up this posture, you'll want to create a 90-degree bend in your right leg. So you want your hips to be facing the right leg, and then you'll take your left leg and create a 90-degree bend with that as well. Now, allow yourself just to breathe into this for a moment if it's kind of really tight. But when you're ready, what you'll do is you'll start to shift your whole weight over to the left side. So you're going to start to roll through your feet as you lift your knees up, and you'll eventually land where your left leg is now forward and your hips are facing that left leg. You'll continue to roll through the hips side to side, allowing the whole hip socket to open up here. So anterior and posterior tilts within your hips are really important, and it's good to know if you have it. But in order to make sure that our hips don't stay locked in one place, we have to work through the whole ball and socket, which is why we're doing this posture now. Next up, we have our hip pry. To start in your hip pry, begin in a standing position, your feet just a little outside of your hips. You'll reach down and grab your toes. It's okay if your knees are bent here. You want to make sure that you can hold on to the front side of your feet. Find that stretch through the hamstrings, and then when you're ready, you'll sit your tailbone down towards the ground as you come into a squat. So the squat is called yogi squat or malasana. When you're here, you want to think about drawing the elbows inside the knees. Your hands will come to touch at your heart center. What you'll do is you'll press your elbows out into your knees and just allow a little bit more of a pry at the hip socket. Then you release the hands, grab the toes. Keeping hold of the toes, you inhale, lift the hips. When you lift the hips, once again, the knees may be bent, you may not straighten them all the way, that's okay, but I just want you to breathe into the stretch through the back side of the legs. Continue moving through this. When you sit down into your hip pry, think about trying to make your spine as long as possible and open your chest and your shoulders. And then last up, we have our pigeon pose. To set up our pigeon pose, I'm gonna bring you back into the downward facing dog that we started the series with. So begin in your box pose and then curl your toes, lift the hips. From here, you'll take your right leg and you can lift it up to the sky if you would like to take a stretch. If not, you just step it up towards the top of the mat and you'll take your shin bone down to the ground. So fullest expression of pigeon, your leg would be parallel to the top edge of your mat. But if you have knees, pain, or your hips are really tight and you can't keep them square, you want to take a bigger bend in that front knee. So find the level of bending your knee that you need, and then what you're going to do is square off the hips a lot. Inhale, hands will come by your side. Lift the chest and heart. And then exhale, bring your forehead to the ground. Again, you'll inhale, press into the hands, lift your chest and heart. Exhale, lower the head. We'll do one more. Inhale, lift your chest and heart. And then exhale, lower in. And when you're ready, you come back into your downward dog. So press the hands into the ground, lift the hips, take your right leg to the sky, step it back down to the ground, and then you set up your left leg. So the left leg will lift, find that really nice stretch, and then draw the knee to the nose, set the shin bone down, come into your pigeon pose. You square off the hips. Make sure that your back foot is pointed straight back. You don't want the foot sickled one way or the other. And you want to think about keeping more weight into that right hip here than you would think you need to. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed this little mobility routine that we've just gone through. Know that this routine is great if you've got any knee pain, hip pain, shoulder pain. All of this is going to allow your body to, once again, function at its most optimal level. So it's great to have muscle, it's great to be toned, but if you can't move and you're tight all the time, you're not gonna feel your best. So this program is gonna allow your body to feel the best from the inside so it can look the best from the outside. So once again, I hope you enjoyed the routine. I'll see you guys next time. If you enjoyed this today, make sure you like, share, subscribe, and you hit the comments below.